The camera's rolling, and whenever you feel like you're totally prepared. Okay?
Okay, good morning, class. Today we're going to be talking about sexual orientation, gender identity, and biological sex. And these topics can kind of be, kind of strike a chord with some people, so I just ask that you are respectful of your peers during this lesson as you would be at any other time. And I want you to all know that this is a safe space where you can share openly. You don't have to, but you don't have to share if you don't want to during the lesson. So to start off with, I was wondering if you guys could tell me what are some words you think of when you hear sexual orientation or gender identity? Are there any terms that come to mind, or maybe words that you've heard?
Male and female.
Right?
Heterosexual.
Yep. Any others?
Cisgender.
Yep. Some of those terms will come up today. Later on, we'll get into some more detail about those. The next thing that we're gonna do is it's gonna involve these sticky notes that I've passed out. And up here on the whiteboard, I've placed some value statements. And this is especially a time where respecting one another is gonna come into play. I ask that you, when you're answering these, you allow space for each other. You know, I don't want to see multiple people at the same time. You know, I just want to kind of let people be able to do their own answers. So what you're going to do with the sticky notes is green means that you agree, yellow is you're unsure, and red is you disagree with the statements that are up here. So if you guys would place a sticky note accordingly with how you feel, I'd appreciate it.
Can you go through the colors again, please?
Green means that you agree with the statement, yellow means you're unsure, and red or pink means that you disagree.
Okay, thank you.
Come up and do that now. And it's not working.
You can just put them on the desk.
Okay.
This is how we would react.
Yeah. And then after you've completed putting your sticky notes down, just go ahead and take your seat. Alright, so we're going to go through these now, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions. I would laugh at a joke ridiculing homosexuality. It looks like the majority of you were unsure with a few no's. And I would say I would agree, because I think a lot, and it goes along with the same one for the heterosexuality. I think a lot of times we don't realize potentially what is going on within that context. So you would laugh, but you wouldn't intentionally, you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't intentionally be ridiculing someone who is heterosexual or homosexual. And then I would support a friend who decided to tell me he or she was not heterosexual, unanimous that we would agree that we would support them. For me, this is kind of personal. My brother came out as homosexual when I was in middle school, so this is something that I kind of experienced firsthand. And I am supportive of my brother, so that's good to see. And then, okay, this one too. I would be comfortable if my teacher, best friend, sibling was gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, or queer. And for the most part, you all said that you would agree. So it is important to be accepting of people in your life who do come out or do express to you that they are any of these just because we want to be accepting of everyone. And then, for a few questions, how easy was it to vote on these values? Was it pretty straightforward? You guys just kind of, you knew, you didn't really have to question it a whole bunch. If you mind sharing, which statement was the hardest for you to decide on?
Joking about heterosexuality.
Exactly.
And then, if your parents voted on these statements, do you think that their votes would be similar to or different from yours?
Different.
Different? Alright, so next we're gonna go through a few slides that have some key terms, just so that way we better understand these topics. So, the first one, biological sex. Biological sex are the characteristics that define you as male or female at birth. They don't limit a person to being male or female, as are people who have both features. It kind of runs on the spectrum, even though the heteronormative is either male or female. Sexual orientation. Sexual orientation is a person's emotional and sexual attraction to others. It can change and may or may not be the same as the person's sexual behavior. So I don't know if you guys have known anyone in your life, but I have some friends from high school who, in high school, they were attracted to, it was a female who was attracted to guys, and now she's attracted to females. So it can change. It doesn't always have to stay the same. And then gender and gender identity. And this is a person's internal sense of their identity as male, female, both, or neither, regardless of what their biological sex is. Gender expression is how a person expresses their gender. This can include how they look, the name that they choose, and the pronoun that they use, and their social behavior. So that kind of ties back into their gender identity. Cisgender is a person whose sense of identity and gender matches their biological sex. So personally, I was born female and I identify as a female. And then just a few takeaway points that I want to make sure that you guys understand is that a lot of times people assume that everyone is heterosexual and cisgender. That's that heteronormative language. So using terms like boyfriend and girlfriend instead of partner without realizing it excludes the gender and sexual minorities. And then many people face challenges throughout their lives. So fear about how family and friends will react, harassment, discrimination, and it can cause issues for them wanting to, like that term of like coming out or sharing or expressing who they really are. And then this next part we're going to go through, and I want you in your heads to think about how you think that these people would identify with their sexual orientation. So we're just going to kind of go through a few pictures. Keep it to yourself though, and then we'll talk about it at the end. So the whole point of that is you can't assume someone's sexual orientation and gender identity by looking at them. Hopefully that was kind of what you guys were thinking about, like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. It's because you shouldn't assume that someone is a certain sexual orientation or gender just by looking at them. And then next, I'm just going to talk about it for the sake of time. We're not actually going to do it, is researching historical figures who identify within that realm of LGBTQ and just kind of understanding some of the challenges that they have faced. And then I have a list here that has like a few examples. So one is Dr. James Barry was a respected British Army surgeon who joined the Army as a young man in 1813 but was discovered 40 years later after death to be anatomically female. So it just kind of shows the links that people will go to, especially, not so much anymore, but especially when it was uncommon for someone to be transgender or gay or bisexual or any of those. So the point of this is just to kind of get you guys to understand some of the hardships that people have faced throughout history. And then after that, like this would be like due next week, and then next week we'd also have a quiz talking about the definitions, asking for you to define sexual orientation, gender identity, biological sex, talking about what the acronym LGBTQ means, just so that I can kind of see where you guys are at with understanding the key terms from the unit. And that is all I have for today. Thank you.
were you talking about the research project? Were they writing a paper along with that, or what was kind of the?
Yeah, a short paper, and then kind of like when we come back next week, my point was to be able to kind of just describe to the class, like a brief description of the individual that they chose.
Right on my door for administrative duty and try to handle.
I heard you loud.
Were you at the midnight grill out too?
No, I was going to, but you just had to bang on my door, it's like, open the door.
He got mad at me.
Well, who leaves you up when they're sleeping?
Me, so you can wake me up. That was the whole.
You should have told me.
I always knock my door so people would fucking knock in.
Yeah, but he needed to, because he needed to wake me up.
You can't wake yourself up?
No.
I literally told him we were doing it at 11. I was like, you couldn't wake
It was,
up.
I was already sleeping by then.
I was like,
I didn't respond to your 11 thing though. I said,
it's like 10.
He literally messaged me at 10:40 yelling at me because he couldn't want to do the job tonight.
yes, yes, you guys started, it was a long walk over.
We were the boss.
In theory.
Are you able to pull up your presentation? Do you need help?
That was on your point.
It's not showing up on,
Okay.
I have 30 screens. I'm gonna pull up my share of mine.
There we go. Do you guys need to know how to spell my name for the evaluations too, for the course? It's exercise science 342 for the course number, and then Astrauskas is ASTRAUSKASZQYPG. It's a downgrade from carrier, my maiden name. For sure. You can stop at the S.
and then I'm ready.
Yep, whenever you're ready to go up. Wait, look, I gotta turn this off. I didn't turn it off.